Yeah.
So when I moved to New York, so we talk about New York, and I moved to New York in 2004, October of 04. Started comedy at Boston Comedy Club, which is always funny. These people that never makes sense, but there was a comedy club called Boston Comedy Club, and right when we were getting started, and that's where me and Yannis would have met. New York Comedy Club.
We met at New York Comedy Club. We used to do shows in those side rooms. There was a side room, and it was a dump, and there was a pipe by the stage. Do you remember that had the heat in it?
Yeah.
So it was like, and like, when you're working on jokes, or you just not a good comic, which is what I was. You just lean on stuff for support. And like, there was about 10 times I leaned on that pipe and just burnt my hand.
That's New York heating. Is always it's all this gas.
You live in an apartment. It's like the heat is.
You always hear like it sounds like tea, like you're cooking tea.
It's like you're cooking tea, and your landlord controls the heat. So it's like you have the window open more in the winter because the heater's so hot than you do in the summer.
Yeah. That I do remember that. You would always have to just to balance it out because it would get so hot.
Yeah.
And doing New York, and that room was a side room, and so if you would stand on stage and you would face forward, and you would just see the wall. There could maybe be one table in front of you, and then everybody had to sit to the side.
Yeah.
So you'd have to turn a lot.
You did comedy like you were crossing a highway, just like looking this way, looking that.
You'd have to tell a joke, and you'd have to like let it breathe all the way across.
Yeah.
He did a lot of faces and stuff.
Yeah.
He's real animated.
Yeah, he used to make fun of me. He would say, "Here's Yannis's act." He'd take the microphone and bang it against his head. Remember that?
Yeah.
Because I was a physical comedian. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where Nate would just make him kill them with just like his mouth. I would have to like really.
It's with words, and then he would be like, "What am I, a cowboy?" And he makes a microphone like a lasso, and then he rides it and sits on the stool. And he needs everything on the stage. He's just someone that
I'd call volunteers up. Yeah. I need everything but jokes. I would use everything. When I didn't have jokes, I would use everything that I had at my disposal.
So we started in New York. You were born and raised Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah, I was about to just remember that Brattleboro show we would do every year in Brattleboro, Vermont.
Yeah,
that was back at like the beginning when you didn't have many credits, so you just inflate, like there's a paragraph describing who you are. Like, he does. He's a regular at New York Comedy Club. It is like 8 lines of stuff that you're like, that shouldn't be in your bio. But you're like, I just want it to look big.
You want it to look good.
Yeah.
That was a fun little gig. We'd go up there. It was a nice little town.
Yeah, Brattleboro.
We had it. That was the only gig I kind of had that I booked.
Yeah.
Because they brought me
saw
up.
you, and then I think you brought me.
Yeah. And then so we'd always go up and we would drive up. That was when you started in New York, it was all about going to Vermont, Connecticut, New Jersey. Like that's where you would go and make any kind of money.
Any money,
By money, like $300 maybe.
I've driven, I mean, when I started, I remember driving to like Cincinnati, Columbus for like $150 with Soul Joel. It was like $150. And I remember you started making a little money, and it was like you drove somewhere for like $500.
Yeah.
And then that's when you start saying like, is the money enough that I would drive somewhere to get and have someone hand me $500?
Yeah.
And if it's too little, I won't do it. But if the money is like, I'll drive 2 hours for someone to hand me $1,000, then you do the gig.
Yeah. That's how you would know to do it or not.
Yeah.
If it was just would you drive but at the beginning you're like 100 miles for $100, you're like, absolutely, I'll do that. And then it just gets more and more.
And you know what the funny thing is, like, those days are over now because we have families and stuff, but those were the best.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just the best time.
Did you realize it then in the moment?
No. I think you realize it looking back. It's like, when you look back at like playing sports and stuff at the time, and you're like, oh man, hanging with the team in the bus was like the best. And then at the time you're having fun. And when you look back, maybe it's just like because you don't have any money and it's just innocence and like, man, just off stage, the fun we would have, how hard we would laugh, and like, we had
you're
a good
just
time.
you're in your world, so you're in your group, so it's you against the audience in a way. Like it's these people are coming in, you're trying to put on a good show, and there's those New York days at the beginning. I mean, I wouldn't trade that stuff in. That's what made me even the comic and made him the comic that he's at. That we are is because of that. That's why I think New York comics are the best.
They are
because we had to hang every single night, so it was. 4 or 5 years, and I was there for almost 9, but so you almost 9, but towards the end you start traveling a little bit, so you're not around each other as much. You're kind of going in and doing spots and doing a show, and you're leaving, so you're not getting to hang. But that beginning 4 or 5 years, you're around each other. I mean, more than you're around your family. I mean, you're every night for 8 hours, and it's just jokes, and it's just making each other laugh. And that's why I think New York comics,
Without a doubt,
are the best.
And then when you do those first road gigs, like it's amazing because you're grinding in the city every night, and then it's like I got a gig, and so you'd go with your friend or whatever, and it's like you're on the road, you know, like you're a young comic on the road, and it was just like fun. You felt like you were
performing
doing
in front of an audience that you're going to a comedy club that they want to be there.
Yeah,
what made New York comics so good is we performed in front of people that didn't want to be in the room they were in.
Oh yeah,
and that was most of them. It was like tricking them into coming in. Oh, we got a free show down there, and I mean, people were just talking me in off the street.
Did you bark a lot, Yannis?
No, I didn't bark a lot.
Okay.
I didn't. I was from New York, so the way I really came up was I did like black rooms, like kind of have their own circuit down there. Like you know, black rooms always like have their own self-produced shows. Yeah. So I do a lot of those, and then I would start my own rooms, and then I just kind of got in at sort of the B and C clubs, and that's where me and Nate met. Like on the nights where if you were newer, you could get up. Like this guy Dustin Chafin. Is a good friend of mine still. Dustin Chafin really hooked us both up, got us in. I started doing sets with Donnell. Donnell took me on the road to Chappelle Show tour. Donnell Rawlings, another comedian. That was early on. And then, we would drive and do any gig. Soul Joel would have a lot of gigs in Jersey. And like,
you would find someone that would produce a lot of gigs. And so then he would have like, Soul Joe would have me, him, Soder, Vecchione. A lot of us would do a lot of his gigs. I remember doing Soul Joe gigs. Some would no one would show up. Soul Joe.
Soul Joe.
By the way, Soul Joe's cooking right now.
Yeah.
He's the only club like in the Northeast.
Like outdoor shows,
He's getting like Seinfeld to do it. It went from like
he did.
I'm just saying like all the good comics are doing it now.
Yeah.
Because there's like nothing else going on, and
he just knew how to run shows. I mean, he just knew how to do it. But I mean, we were around him when he was starting out too. So some of those first shows. Now he's cooking. Now he's actually he makes and doing really good shows.
He's got his own club. He's got his own club in Royersford, PA.
Oh wow.
That's where Big J got attacked on stage, right?
Yeah, by a fan. Yeah, that's what happens when you go on the Legion of Skanks. Yeah. They love you so much they hate you.
Yeah. They I remember doing one Soul Joe gig when no one was there, and it's like you still got to go up, and you're like, I don't want to, let's just not do it. But it's like to get the money, you got to do something. You're doing a show for like one guy.
I think,
but that was at the beginning when he was still figuring out his world.
Yeah, he was like us starting out.
He was like us starting out.
He quit his job in like sales, and is like, this is what I want to do. For you, like you would not have become the monster you are without New York.
No.
And what was always really impressive about Nate is, New York, you really had to grab him. Because in New York, they're going like, they look at you for, if it's a free show, first of all, forget it. They could just walk out. But it's like, they're looking at you going like, hey man, I could be here. I could be doing a million things. It's not that special. And you were like an understated comic.
Yeah.
So like you being in New York, you had to like, if you're making people laugh, if someone who just stands there and like Nate does and makes people crack up, that's a dude who's really funny because you got to really perform to get these guys. You know what I mean? And you would do it.
Yeah.
And you learn.
You had to learn how to do it.
Yeah. And I think you got better and better and better. Yeah. And only out of necessity, because if you're in another place, you wouldn't have had to do that.
You have no choice. Yeah. You're in another place where people want to be there. I mean, that's what New York teaches you. And that's why, I mean, the comics that are in New York that people don't even know who they are better than most famous comedians. I mean, they're just so good because they're just constantly like almost having to talk your way onto a show, and you're having to convince this audience that. I mean, I remember people that wouldn't speak English.
Yeah,
you'd have a lot of people that. I remember going to Broadway Comedy Club, and we would do those shows. I mean, I would do those shows. It'd be midnight. It'd be midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. We'd be on.
Those were our like first club shows.
Those were the first club. That room ended up becoming. Dustin ran that upstairs. It would start at midnight, and that room was great.
It was great.
It was great. And so we would all just hang out in the hallway. The crowd. I mean, it started out not that many people in the crowd to then be in these packed shows.
Yeah.
And you would go on stage and you would just, I mean, it became a thing, and it was just a kind of a smaller room that could come nice and packed. One of my favorite rooms in the city.
It was actually like a perfect comedy room.
Yeah. We got left alone up there.
Yeah.
So it's like Dustin, we'd all just run it. We'd help Dustin run it. But you just got left alone. You were just up there in your own little world. They come in for the ticket.
You get paid a drink ticket, no money.
Yeah.
Just a drink ticket. You get one drink ticket. You get yourself a Coke or a water.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Some sort of juice.
Yeah. And you would just be
just
there.
Keep it rolling. No edit job there. Yeah.
We would do, but it was just such a, I mean, I can't say enough that I definitely say, because when people ask what kind of comic I am or where I always say I'm a New York comic.
You are a New York comic.
Because that's where it was.
Yeah.
Now now you kind of go and I got Zanies here in Nashville and that's my home club and
they're lucky to have you.
That's what I tell them every day.
You tell them every day. I'm Nate Bargatze.
There we go.
Oh, yeah, I forget. Not even that, right?
No. What do you think cursing is?
I don't know. I forgot I
That's
was
the
doing
problem
a
with New
children's
York.
network. Yeah.
That's the problem with New York, dude. Like y'all, I would hear stuff on the subway.
Come on,
just
that word I just
children.
said, that's like the marijuana of curses.
No,
it's not that bad.
How hard
People
is it?
think it's bad, but you can smoke it.
How hard is it to not? How hard is it just to not? I mean, what do y'all do?
I mean,
growing
I
up?
have been so good here.
We've been going
I
for
mean,
maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'm doing a church show. I'm doing good. If this was the only complaint that one show, I would get my money. You'll hand me an envelope after the show. I could have been doing this in a pulpit.
Is there not enough? Is there not enough shows cursing for you? Is there not enough?
Don't you guys forgive?
Huh?
Us,
Not you.
I'm also Christian.
We do. You're not going to be in the main gates, but you're going to be up there.
You're gonna have to talk. You're gonna have to talk me in.
I'm like we will always talk through a fence.
Yeah. That was some of the jokes we used to do. You'd be like, Dave would just go, I would just say something. He was like, well, at least I'm not going to hell. So